That's okay with me.
You ready?
I am. Oh, you gonna edit this part anyway? So.
Nope, it's a blooper. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 7. Can y'all believe 7 moms have been on the show sharing their journey? You're not gonna believe this one. She's a grandmother. She looks so good to be a grandma, and she's ready to share her experience as a grandmother and a mom, because you're a full-time grandma, right?
I am.
Yes. And I know there are some grandmas out here that could hear this and really get inspired and motivated. Okay, sorry. I did that part up. Don't worry. All right. So, Sarah, share with us a little bit about who you are as an individual outside of being a grandma and a mom. Some of the things that you like to do, your hobbies, all of that good stuff.
Okay, so I'm Sarah. I'm originally from a rural part of the state, Brunswick County. I'm married. I have 3 adult children and 10 grandchildren.
10.
10.
Okay.
Yeah, 10 grandchildren. And my hobbies, I like repurposing stuff, thrifting, finding old furniture, repurposing it, decorating, animals. I love being outside with the animals.
You do a lot of DIY too. She's really good at it. She's really good at it. You need a stylist. She's it.
What else? I love music. I collect vinyl records. So I got my record player out in my she shed.
Okay, nice.
So that's one of the things I look for when I'm thrifting. I like to get my vinyl records.
Oh, that's wonderful. Hold on, I'm still shocked because I've known you for how long? About 2?
No, longer than that.
3 years?
Yeah,
maybe 4. I did not know she had 10 grandkids.
I do. Yeah,
that is amazing. How does it feel? Because you have custody of two of them. How does it feel being like a full-time grandmother and having custody over, 2 of your grandkids?
It's challenging. It's not where I thought I would be at this point in my life.
Yeah.
Raising my children, being divorced, I had a lot of challenges financially. And I didn't understand finances. I was pretty good at budgeting money, but it wasn't a lot of money coming in. So there was a time when we lived in subsidized housing, which had its own challenges because I put my children in an environment that had I had the right type of money flowing, I would have never put them in those situations. So I made it through that, successfully raised them and felt happy about it. Now it's my turn. I can do some of the things that I wanted to do. And to answer part of the question that you asked earlier, I thought at this time in my life, I would pursue the business that I always wanted to start, which I did start the nonprofit. I thought I would be serving my community as an advocate, a mental health advocate. And that's something that I do. But I thought I would do it full time. I didn't know that I would be raising grandchildren, and it would be so much of an investment in terms of my time. Like currently right now, I'm planning a community event. I'm writing a book. I'm completing a workbook, actually 2 workbooks. And I work a full-time job as a contracted employee. And my granddaughter starts softball on Monday.
Wow.
So I'm having to change all of those things around making sure that she gets to her practices, picked up from her practices, and that I'm there to cheer her on for her games. Because I missed it with my children. They did those things alone in pursuit of me being able to take care of them. And what I learned then is that I have to be more present. And not that they held it against me, but I know there were some things that I missed. I know there was a time when my oldest son was in 6th grade and I was managing a furniture store. So I was there 8 o'clock in the morning to sometimes 9 o'clock at night. And I got a call from his teacher at school. And she said, I just wanted to let you know, she called him Casper because he used to be ashy. So she called him Casper. She said, I just wanted to tell you that Casper broke a school record. We've never had a child to get every award, and he got every award.
This has to be
Savion.
Oh, Savion. Okay,
yep.
okay.
And I missed it because I had to work.
Yeah.
And when I got home and he shared with me, he was so excited. And what he did, because he was such a humble kid, he allowed them to keep his trophies in the school to show other children that you can do this.
Right.
And that's where they still are in that school today.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful. Yeah. Do he ever go back to that school and just kind of like look at it, reminisce?
He hasn't. And that's another set of challenges. He had a circle of friends that consisted of maybe 9 or 10 of them. He's the only one that's still alive.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So whenever he has mentioned going back, well, there's one guy, Fonte. So it's 2 of them. Okay. The rest of them, have either been murdered or car accident, motorcycle accident, but they're not here anymore.
Is it traumatizing for him to think about going back there without them, you think?
Not about taking the journey back, but we have had many conversations about purpose and intent.
Yeah.
And why am I still here? And why was I spared? And what should I be doing with my life?
Yeah.
Since I was spared and I do have a family to raise, how can I be more present for them? And how can I figure out what I'm supposed to be doing and walk in that? So I try to encourage, and he has his challenges when it comes to trying to figure that out, but I try to support him in the best way that I can.
Okay. Let's go back a little bit. What ages were your grandbabies when you got them?
Okay. So what happened is there was an incident that took place that involved the law.
Okay.
So I had them, that was right at the end of the school year. So they came for the summer and I had both of them.
Okay.
They were 8 and 4.
Okay. One of them was a baby.
Yeah. That was Bean.
Yeah, Beanie.
So Bean was 4. And I was trying to get her a Head Start because I had already made the determination that I was going to keep them.
Okay.
But I couldn't get her a Head Start because they had started like in maybe March or April when they started enrolling them.
Yeah.
And I had missed the deadline, so they couldn't get her in. Her mom already had her enrolled. Yeah. So she went back with her mom and Sugar stayed.
Okay.
Well, they started school in August. March, there was another incident. And the police was involved. CPS was involved.
Okay.
And I went to pick her up and she came. At that point, she was 5. She had just turned 5.
Okay. So pretty much like a year later.
No, she was 3. She turned 4.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep.
So still a year later.
Yeah, within that 12 months, I ended up with both of them.
Okay. And then that's when you kind of felt like maybe you were limited to some of the things that you wanted to do, or did it came on later in life when you realized like, oh, okay, I'm going to have them for a while?
What happened is I kind of time traveled. My husband, he did not. Okay. He just saw it as they need to be safe and stable, and that's what we have, and that's it. He didn't think any further into it, but my husband had never raised children before. Even though he had an adult child, he didn't raise her. Okay. So he had no idea what it's like to have a child with you all day and all night. Because right after we got my granddaughters, his son came too.
Oh, wow.
So 3 children came into the house all at the same time.
So he felt more prepared because he had to take care of his son now at this stage. Okay.
Yeah, and he felt like he has companionship because the 2 girls are there.
Yeah.
But he didn't see into the future the way I did.
Okay.
When the girls came, I saw how my life was going to change because I knew what was expected of me and what was required of me.
Right.
And when Bean came in March, June, I took time off from work. I used my employee assistance at work. I took FMLA for 13 weeks. And I saw a therapist twice a week so that I could process my emotions.
Yeah.
Because the thought was, how do I keep them safe? Being a mental health advocate and a child advocate, I understand any child is not necessarily safe, but really what happens to girl children. And knowing the stats, children are usually molested by someone who is close to them,
Yeah.
either a relative or a close family friend.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm thinking I have to make sure that I'm protecting my grandchildren from the same fate that many of the women in my family have suffered. And, you know, people would ask the question, well, don't you trust the people around you? Of course you trust the people around you. But statistically, it's the people around you that molest your children.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
know? So I had to process that. And it was hard because what I thought about doing was abandoning everything that I had started for myself so that I could be present with them.
Yeah.
And I had to talk to someone to figure out how can I have both and not be resentful, because I had started getting pissed off already. It was like, I'm gonna stomp my foot. I'm mad. I feel like my daughter is just making poor choices and it's affecting everyone. Because not only was I stepping in to make sure that my grandchildren were safe, I was also relieving my daughter of some stress that she had.
Yeah.
And then I got backlash from my sons because they felt like, tough love.
Wow.
Just make her do it.
So you had to deal with your children being upset, and then on top of that, the resentment that you felt towards your daughter, because of the fact that you had to take care of her children. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Do you think going to therapy helped you process those emotions, or do you feel still some type of anger and resentment towards her?
I'm not angry with her anymore for the situation being what it is.
Yeah.
I still have some anger because since I've had her children, she's had 3 more children. And there's still a financial need. There's still a need for security and safety for those children.
Yeah.
But I've set a boundary for myself, which is I can be a natural support to them, but I'm not going to be their primary caretaker.
Right.
I'm already doing that for the grandchildren that I have. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I've made my peace with that.
Right. Okay. That's really good. What do you think is the motive behind like your daughter and some of her choices that she's making?
I think it's some unresolved trauma.
Yeah.
I think it's some stuff that went on with the divorce between her dad and I, because she always longed to have that relationship.
Yeah.
But he was in another state, states away, and could never really get away or make time. You know, I don't know what his reasons were. He's deceased now. He had a terminal illness that he died in 2013.
Sorry to hear
that. Thank you. But she'll never be able to fix that wound with him. She can heal on her own,
right?
But she'll never be able to understand maybe from him why he wasn't present in the way that she needed or wanted him to be.
Do she believe in therapy?
She's been to therapy before. In her teens, she went to therapy. But again, you know, working in the profession and holding a license, what we know is when people start out going to therapy, usually they're not open and honest because of the guilt and shame.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm speaking from my own lived experience.
Yeah.
The first time I went to therapy, it was because I was having challenges with my daughter. And they gave us like 5 free sessions, and the lady was nice, and, you know, her office was groovy. And I was like, oh, this is good. I'm sit back, you know.
Yeah.
She's like, just giving me strategies to help cope with my emotions, with what my daughter was going through. But I remember in the last session, she said, well, so tell me a little bit about your childhood. And I was like, oh, hell no. I ain't gonna do that. I'm not reciting that to anyone. And it was because I had a lot of shame about the things that had taken place in my childhood. It was a lot of domestic violence.
Yeah.
It was a lot of intimate partner violence. And let me clarify the difference between the two for anybody who's listening and don't know the difference. Domestic violence is between family members or people around the family that could be connected as cousins or whatever. Yeah. Intimate partner violence is between lovers.
Okay.
Or romantic partners.
Okay.
So I saw it both ways. I saw the men in my family fighting the women in my family, but I also saw the men fighting each other and their siblings that were female sometimes.
Okay. Okay.
And
so it's you grew up in an abusive household?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There was no physical violence towards me, but I saw it amongst the adults all the time.
Okay. And that can still do a lot of damage. Just seeing it can do a lot of damage.
Oh yeah. I have a diagnosis to go along with it. Complex PTSD. Yeah. It was a lot of violence.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of
Especially
sense.
during developmental years when children witness, it puts you in a position of feeling like you're responsible to help the adults who are not regulated. And it's something that you're still learning as a kid, how to self-regulate. And then you're watching adults, navigate through the world just no impulse control and no self-regulation skills. And then you throw addiction into that, and poverty. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And their own undiagnosed trauma.
Yeah.
And then that's what you get.
Wow. Do you feel like how you were raised played a significant part in the relationship with you and your daughter?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah, I was a dictator, just like the woman who raised me. Yeah. Okay. What I say is how it goes.
Yeah.
You can do this when I say it.
You was one of those stubborn moms.
From what I've been told, they had fun and they enjoyed spending time with me. But when it came to what they were allowed to do, I had very rigid edges because of my upbringing. Okay. So my children weren't allowed to spend the night at anybody's house. My children weren't. I can remember we moved to South Carolina, in an inner city, and like I said, my children came from a small community where it's one traffic light, so everybody knows everybody.
Oh wow!
We have one high school there, just one.
Wow.
One middle school, one high school.
Small. It was country.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I take them to a community where the population is over 500,000, and it's school districts and different elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools within a district and within the city itself. I enrolled them in school. We went to the open house. We saw different parents there and some teachers, but you just kind of get a summary of what might be there. But when they started school, my daughter and my son came back with two different responses. He was in shock. He was like, there are no white people here.
Okay.
He was like, it's all like the principal is black, the teachers are black, the coaches are black, everybody is black. There's no white people in this school. And that wasn't something he was accustomed to. It was like, everybody looks like me. I don't know how to act. Whereas my daughter came home and she said, oh, it's a girl in my class with a nose ring, and another girl got a tattoo, and another girl got like blue hair.
So and she was immediately
titillated. Yes. She wanted those things.
She was influenced by her peers. Yeah.
And I said, that ain't happening.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't.
Ain't none of that happening. As a matter of fact, they went to bed at 9:00 until they left my house. I don't care if they was asleep, but they was in the bed. And we didn't shut any doors, ever. The only door that shut in the house was the bathroom. So I had my rules, to answer your question previously, that were influenced by how I was raised. I wanted to make sure that everybody was safe and I could keep an eye on everyone. Yes. But that didn't always happen.
Unfortunately, it happens that way where we can't always protect them in the way that we want to, because we can't always be around when certain things, because things happen at school too, that we are unaware of. And, it sometimes the kids will keep it a secret as long as they could. Yeah. And they don't, come back and share with us these things. Do you ever get overwhelmed by, just all the stuff that you have going on in your personal life with your daughter, with your grandkids, being a wife?
Yeah. It happens.
A dog owner.
Yeah. Of course, because life doesn't stop. I have the things that I want to achieve for myself, which often have a timeline or a deadline, which means I have to prioritize my time and I have to prioritize the things that are in my life so that I can meet deadlines. Like I said, my granddaughter's getting ready to start softball. Well, she's already started, but her first game is Monday. So there are some things I had to move so that I can be there for her. Right. So I've tried to fit some things in over the weekend so I don't have to worry about it on Monday. Yes. For Tuesday. Yeah. my husband works overnight.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I have to cook in the morning
Mm-hmm.
before I leave, so that when he comes home and now he has to wake up to pick her up from practice because I'm not there.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about them eating on time.
Yeah.
You know, when I get up in the morning with the little one, because she's on the bus at 7:00, I have to feed the dogs.
Yeah.
I have to take the dogs out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's always something.
Yeah.
And I do get tired and I do get overwhelmed because I'm over 50. You know, I'll be 55 this year. And I'm going through menopause.
Amazing.
Well, thank you.
She don't look a day over 39. You look amazing.
You know, and that's a learning, you know, process. Understanding what to put in your body, how it's going to respond, your hormone level dropping, you know, the body changes. You know, I think when we were children, I know from my generation, they just tell you someday your cycle is going to stop. And you're like, ooh, one day my cycle's going to stop. But they don't tell you that it's a drop in your estrogen.
Oh, yeah.
And because of the drop in your estrogen, you know, you experience insomnia. And if you're consuming too much sugar, you have hot flashes. You have vaginal dryness. You have urinary incontinence sometimes.
Yeah.
All these different things that come along with that you're trying to manage, you know, and sometimes you have outbursts of rage because your hormone level is dropped.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, you're more aggressive now.
Yeah.
You know, so all of these things are taking place and you're raising small children. And the science behind that is we're going against nature because I can't have little children, but I'm raising little children.
It's beautiful though, because you have such a open and forgiving heart, where I've seen multiple people be able to like come to your home and be able to stay, and with such a traumatic background that you've experienced. How is that though? How is it that you're so open to being loving and caring to people even after all the things that you went through as a child?
I'm glad you asked.
Well, great.
So this is what I believe. I believe that we come here being who we are.
Yeah.
And I came here being a healer. I think that there are things that have happened in my life to abort that in me.
Yeah.
And I've chosen to override those things. So my heart chakra is always open.
Yeah.
You know, and I couldn't function any other way. If I tried to suppress that part of me, I think it would be awful for me and the people around me. You know, and when I was angry, you know, and wanting to isolate and separate myself from people, I saw how the headaches came. It started to manifest in my body. And some of that is from childhood stuff. We know from the ACEs, you know, study that adverse childhood experiences determine negative health outcomes. Yeah. So I know now in my 20s why I was having stomach ulcers and headaches and, you know, various other things that was taking place. I had severe acne. And, you know, it was starting to show up again with the onset of menopause, or perimenopause at that time. And now going through menopause, not being able to sleep, getting up at 6:00 in the morning, feeling frustrated because I'm like, you know, being human. Some days I would say to my husband, you know, I call him and I'm like, this is really pissing me off. My daughter is at that place wherever she is and she's sleeping her ass off. And I'm getting up at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah, taking care of her kids.
Yeah, putting the baby on the bus, making sure that she's okay, you know. And I could have been a lax parent and not get up, but she gonna go to school looking like Rainbow Bright if I don't.
Yeah.
You know, because she is a free spirit, you know.
Yeah, she really is.
She gonna put on some rain boots, you know, some wide leg jeans, a jean jacket. It don't matter. She's gonna do it up, and she would be okay with that.
Yeah,
and I try to let her express that a lot of times because that is true to who she is.
Yeah, she has her own unique style. I would definitely say that about her, and I love that about her because a lot of kids you don't see just being kids and just dressing and looking like kids. They feel like they have to have, you know, all
what everybody else has.
what everybody else has. And for her to just stand out like that, I would definitely say she's going to be the one that helps you rest your mind a little bit more.
I sure hope so. She tells me that. I'm not leaving. I'm staying here. She said, I'm gonna put me a tiny house back there, and that's where I'm gonna live.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, we're gonna see.
You got a lot of land. Well, I guess it's safe to say you don't want any more children.
You know what? I used to say I didn't want any more children. They just started coming. So I don't say that no more.
Okay.
What I'm gonna say is what I'm trying to really lean into, which is I'm grateful that I have health, strength, and the ability to take my grandchildren in and to have a place where other people can come and find refuge, even if it's just for a night. It's there.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. That's great. I remember one time you say you used to work at the shelter and helping people find temporary homes or helping them get into the shelter. How was that experience? Do you think, some of the things that you went through in your childhood has led you down these paths that you are on today with helping other people try to escape those emotions and those feelings that they had to feel in their childhood?
I think it's twofold. Talking about the ACEs study, which is a series of questions to help a person determine what their score is, 10 being the highest. I have a score of 9. The one thing that I did not score in is fear of eating or having stable housing. My grandmother always took care of that. I never worried about where I was going to eat, where I was going to sleep. I always had clean clothes. The house itself is where the chaos was. The provision wasn't. She always made sure that we were taken care of. And that was in part because of the addiction. They drank. And they had their own unresolved trauma. My grandfather was a very violent man before they separated, and abusive to his wife and his children. So abusive that he used to put flour on the doorstep to make sure nobody was coming in the house and nobody was going out of the house.
When he didn't want them to escape.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah. So they lived in fear. And then those were the people who were responsible for raising me, because my mother gave birth at 14, which is why my grandmother raised me.
So your mom gave you to her mom.
I ain't gonna say she gave.
Yeah.
But my grandmother stepped in because she realized my mom wasn't mature enough and she didn't have the financial means.
Yeah.
By the time she was 17, 18, she was already gone.
Where did your mom go?
She moved out. She was in the same community. Her and my grandmother, there was respect for my grandmother, but my mother did not invest time in her mother in my childhood or with me in my childhood.
Yeah. So you don't talk to your mom at all?
I don't go out my way to talk to my mom. If I'm in the community she's in and I run into her, I talk to her. But I don't just drop by her house.
Yeah, and just speak to her.
Yeah.
Wow. What are your feelings on that, knowing that you never really got a chance to have a real relationship with your mom, even now as an adult?
In my childhood, I never missed it. I was not a kid who longed for either one of my parents. I just didn't think about them. They were within a 3-mile radius of me. So I used to run into them in the street.
Yeah.
And they would say, "How's your grandmother?" They never asked me how I was.
Wow.
Yeah. So that kind of formed my opinion of them. They're concerned about my grandmother or how my grandmother feels about them.
Yeah.
So I wasn't of any concern to them. So over the years, I had somewhat of a relationship with my dad because he married a woman who was invested in me. So she spent time with me. I spent maybe 1 or 2 summers at their house over the, for a week. Yeah. And she was very good to me. She still is very good to me. Nice. My children call her grandma. And my grandchildren, they call her grandma. My mom, my children have a relationship with my mom because I would take them to her. And my sister used to babysit. They have a different relationship, especially my daughter.
Oh, your daughter and your mom. Okay. Yeah. What is that? I'm curious to know what that relationship is like. Is it a good one?
Yeah, I think it's a typical grandmother-granddaughter relationship. I didn't keep my children away from my mom because I didn't want them to feel that void that I have. Because I don't long for her, but I don't feel connected to her. So I've even like said to her brothers who were raised as my brothers, but are my biological uncles, I don't know what my mother likes. I don't like if I call her right now and she says hello, it's just hello and we'll have a conversation. That's very awkward. But if I call her brothers, excuse me, and I say hello, I know how they feel just based on their hello, because they invested time. You know, they taught me how to tie my shoes. You know, they were with me growing up.
It's hard to read your mom.
I have no connection with her.
Do you think y'all will ever kind of like find the courage to just share some of those feelings that you have? Because although you say you don't have any feelings, maybe they have been suppressed or you don't think about it a lot.
I tried to have a relationship with my mom several years ago, and I would go around, you know, take her to bingo and things like that. And it was still awkward, but I was trying to establish a connection with her and build from that. And there was an incident with a female child in the family who disclosed some information. And when I said, I believe the child, my mom said to me, I don't care what nobody said. I don't believe it. And I said, well, this is the end of this relationship. Because what I'm saying to you is this child disclosed some information. And I'm telling you, the same person that she said did this to her, did this to me. And your follow-up is, I don't care what nobody says. So you're choosing to put your relationship with that person above your daughter and your granddaughter. So y'all can have y'all relationship.
So you just felt like there was no safety there with your mom.
No connection. Just you know, no connection at all.
That's understandable. I'm sorry.
Sorry it's okay. To hear that. You know? I don't feel like I lost anything because I'm going to tell you why. My grandmother was my mother. And I was fortunate enough, my grandmother had a best friend that lived next to us. They didn't start out as best friends. They were, you know, just drinking buddies and neighbors. But over the years, they became best friends. And that woman became a surrogate mother to me. My grandmother's name is Louise. This woman's name was Louise. My middle name is Louise. All three of us.
Louise.
So my grandmother was Ella Louise. This woman was Theresa Louise. And I'm Sarah Louise.
Oh my God.
So and this woman's husband name was Louis. So
it keeps getting better and
all
better.
Of these Lou's around here. But this woman and her husband sold into my life. They were parents to me in the absence of my parents. And they never assumed the role, but they cared for me in that way. So by the time I was 13, I spent every summer at their house. I spent every holiday at their house. I spent every weekend at their house. Whenever she would recite my name, and I was telling my husband this, I've told him this multiple times, from the age of 13 to maybe 22, every time she said her daughter's name, she said my name. It was Sarah and Sonia and Sarah, because we were always together. And one didn't do something without the other. I was kind of reserved and laid back, you know, as a teenager. And, you know, she was budding and trying to develop her social networks and, you know, discover who she was. So her and her friends would want to go like to a party or something. And her mom would say, yeah, you can take the keys, but she going with you. And I would say, I don't want to go. And she would say, if she going, you going. So I was the tag along, but that's how it went. And I never felt the absence of my bio mom because I had two mothers there. And then my dad's wife was a mother to me. God has always orchestrated women in my life to be that nurturer for me.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, because a lot of people don't get to experience that. You know, some of them actually get to lose out on a mom, and they don't have that guidance from someone else that's nurturing and loving. Were there ever a time when you were like in your teens and you were kind of like your daughter at these stages?
Absolutely not.
No, you're nothing like her. Wow.
No.
Wow.
And I think, again, it was the conditioning. I was raised by a grandmother who came up during the Great Depression. And then I had her mother and my great-grandfather who were born just 30 years post-slavery in 1900. So these are the people that raised me.
Yeah.
You
It
know,
sounded like slavery, especially the flower at the door.
Yeah. So I knew what was expected of me,
Yeah.
and I stayed within those lines.
Okay.
I didn't talk back. I didn't push the envelope. And remember, my grandmother was an alcoholic in full-blown addiction to alcohol by the time I was 14. This was a constant thing. She was drinking all the time, and her behavior would change when she drank.
Sure.
I didn't disrespect her. I didn't raise up against her. I didn't do things that I knew would bring shame to her, even though it had been things done, whether she knew about it or not. I didn't hold her responsible for those things. Right. I just kept those things. And I think that's a testament to the resilience that I came to this planet with. I didn't want to cause injury to someone else because I knew what injury felt like. Even as a kid, I was very much aware of it. And I didn't want to inflict pain on anyone. Wow. And I don't know that my daughter intentionally does it, but I know that there has to be an element of understanding that my choices are having a negative impact on other people. And it's making other people responsible. But as a kid,
no, nothing like her.
Wow. No, I wasn't going to drink. I wasn't going to smoke. None of that stuff. But again, my daughter grew up in a household where she didn't see drinking and smoking. I grew up in a household where I did. So it wasn't appealing to me. Right. You know, it was the opposite.
Right. One thing, and just kind of like circling around, but one thing I can say about your husband, he gonna take care of them kids. He don't care how many you bring in the house. He would have made the perfect foster dad. He would have. If he could go do anything, I think he would go do that and be so good at it because, you know, he has such a caring heart when it comes to children. And I remember one time he was like, Tony, shh, because he was trying to get you to get the other grandbaby. You're like, nope, not right now.
Nope. And that's why we have 10 grandbabies, because his daughter has a baby. Yes. You know, my daughter has 5, my son has 4, and then his daughter, you know, my stepdaughter has 1. So he's at the house all the time. Yeah. You know.
You said his son has 4 kids?
My son, Savion, has 4.
Yes, Savion.
And then we have his daughter's son. So that's baby number 10. So yeah, he loves children. He grew up as an only child.
Oh, so, okay. That makes sense. That makes sense.
So he always wants to make sure that the children have provision. And the other thing that he says that I agree with 100%, even though it's hard for me sometimes, is I'm the bad cop. He's the good cop. I'm the one who says, go to bed. He's the one that's like, it's the weekend. They're going to play. You know, I'm the one who says, eat all that food on your plate. And he's the one to say, they done. They'll come back to it. Yeah. You know. So it's I'm different. The one. I'm like, get out the shower. You're going to use up all the water. And he's like, shit, you know, they want to have fun in there. Just play around. Stay in there till the water run cold. You know, that is not who I am. You know,
how were you able to like cope with some of the things he were allowing them to do that just like wasn't a part of who you are?
When he says we're not going to raise them the way we were raised, we're going to break some of these generational cycles.
Oh, okay.
That's and I beautiful. Agree with that.
Yes,
it don't feel good.
Yeah,
you know, because I want to go with what you know. Yeah, it's hard to break that. You know. But I don't want to raise them in the same way that I was raised, because I know, you know, they did what they knew to do. Yeah. It wasn't always the best choice for me. But like I said, especially with what's going on with children now, there's a mental health crisis. They just don't have the capacity to deal with some of the things that those of us before them were able to deal with.
I agree.
So, you know, I can't say certain things to Beanie. Yeah. Because she's very sensitive in that way. So I have to find a different way to say it. Yeah. Especially not the way my grandma would have said it.
Oh, man.
You know,
she would have gave it to me raw.
Yeah. She'd be crushed if Louise was saying some of that stuff to her. You know, and I have to be mindful, because I said something to her the other day about her locks. And Matthias pulled me to the side and he was like, Mom, you went like way extreme on that one. You know. And he said, I talked to her. And then when I got back in the house, you know, I asked her, I said, how you feel about what I said? And she said, I'm okay. She said, Uncle Matt talked to me already.
Okay.
And I said, you understand why I said it? And she said, yeah, because it's my hair and it needs to look a certain way.
Yeah.
And, I was just telling her, I don't have to tell you to get on your cell phone and play Roblox or whatever it is. I shouldn't have to tell you every night to wrap your locks up so they don't get full of lint. And I say it every night. And I've been saying it every night because you had these locks since you were 4. When are we going to get to a place where I don't have to recite that to you?
Yeah.
And she said, I'm going to do better.
I believe her. She's maturing and she's growing. I had another question. Do you think being married to your husband has helped calm down some of those fears that you had when it came to like raising children? Because he's so open and free spirit, because he's been the only kid, and then you had this background where, it wasn't like that for you. Do you think he helped change the narrative of how you parent a little?
Yeah. Yeah, because you know him. We are polar opposite. He is so wild and I am so not wild. So when I'm in, having my anxiety about different things, and he, it's always fun to him. He's like, hey, come here. Oh, they got you fucked up.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. You're a grandmother.
You know how he is. He's like, oh, you messed up in the game. Come on over here. Let me help you out. You want something to drink, because he's always encouraging, like, I'll go get you some coffee, I'll go get you some wine, you want to turn your rank, because I listen to like flute or rain, and he's like, if you want to go in the room, I cut the, the music on for you, or, whatever.
Yeah.
So he mellows me out in that way. And it has helped. My children say that all the time. I remember we were at a restaurant and it went way wrong. It went way wrong. And he was yelling at the lady, and the lady was yelling at him. And next thing I know, the police was coming.
Oh, wow.
And Savion was sitting across from me. And he said, well, Mom, I think you found the cream to your coffee, because he is way up here and you was way down there. So what ended up happening in that situation, he was still arguing with the lady and now the people from the back. And I said to him, when the police get here, just let me handle it.
Okay.
And as soon as the police came in, they walked over to the table and I started to address them, and he stopped. Okay. And it worked out great. So my children were able to see, like, there's some balance there.
Okay.
He's going to give it to you. She's going to give you the salve. Okay.
And so you just let him go in on her real quick. And you're like, all right.
She asked for it. She really did.
Okay. Y'all ain't have to tag team her.
Because see, here's the thing. My husband will give you this and then he'll pull back.
Yeah.
I come from a family of violence, so I'm not going to say nothing. But if you push me, I'm going to strike you.
Okay, you got that fight in you.
Yeah. And I've never had to use it.
Yeah.
But it's there.
Okay.
And I do tell people it's there. I've always been level-headed enough to weigh out the consequences. I never wanted to be removed from my children because I saw family members in the back of a car because they couldn't contain their violence or their rage. And I never wanted to be in that situation. Like I said, it didn't always manifest good in my body.
Yeah.
Because at one point I did have bleeding ulcers in my 20s. And that was because I was so enraged with the way my ex-husband was drinking and making choices. And I would internalize all that stuff because I really wanted to lash out. Like,
you wanted to just let it out.
I wanted to let it out, but I had 2 small children.
Yeah.
And I knew if I act the way my family members acted, I was going to end up in the same situation as them. So I'm not. I found healthy ways to manage that now.
That's great. That's awesome. Kudos to you, because you think about your decisions. We don't have too many parents that think like that. They go right on in. How is it? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Okay. How is it with you and your husband, being that y'all don't have kids together? Is that a challenge for you? Does he want any more kids, or?
When we first met, he gave me that disclaimer when I told him, this is how I am. And then he said, this is how I am. And I said, well, do you want more children? And he said, absolutely, I want more children.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, when we first bought our house, it was
Yeah.
just the two of us.
Mm.
And we were supposed to fix it up, and it was nice, and I was
get
doing
ready
things
for the kids.
And then Clifford came.
That Clifford.
And then, like I said, then his son started coming.
Yeah.
And it was on the weekend in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
But then he was there for the school year, the same year that Sugar came. So now we had 3 children in our house, even though Clifford was a young adult.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was 19 at the time, so he was still a teenager, maybe.
Yeah.
And then Benny came. So now we have 4 children in the house that was intended for just the two of us. So if you ask him now, do he want a child? He says no. I don't want no more, because they just started coming.
Yeah.
And not the way he would have thought, but you know.
Wow. So it's like y'all was planning to get ready to have your own, and then
no, he was planning that. Because I wasn't having any more children. And it's funny because, like I said, if you ask him that now, he's like, no. But if you ask me, I'm like, I'm going to ride the wave, because even though I don't want more children, you know, I'm not even going to say I don't want to be the caretaker. But if that's what life brings, in order to make sure that they have a stable and secure and happy life, then I'm not going to push against it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it doesn't do anything for them or me. I think they know in terms of body language and what you say to your friends and your other family members. And I've had to go back and correct some of that. Because of something I used to say when Matthias was little, and he pointed it out to me as an adult. I said I wasn't trying to have another baby. That's why it's 7 years between them.
Yeah.
And he said, I remember you saying that. And he recited it to me. But now that he's an adult and he doesn't have any children, there are times when, you know, there are financial challenges, and he'll say, I'm glad I don't have any children. And I said, I'm glad you don't either, because what I should have been able to say, but I didn't have the right words, was I didn't want you to have to struggle for the things that you needed, because I wasn't financially prepared to have 3 children. And he's like, oh, I get it now. You know, I understand what you meant. But as a kid, I didn't. Yeah. You know.
Absolutely.
And so I watch my language concerning the girls around that.
No, that's wonderful. You know, hearing your journey as a grandmother and as a mom. Do you feel like you were given the opportunity to take care of your grandchildren, to kind of do some of the things that you weren't able to do with your children, that you kind of felt guilty for?
I do less with my grandchildren than I did with my own children, and I had less money.
Wow. Why is that?
I think the investment was different. I love my grandchildren, and I want what's best for them. But my relationship with my children was more personal. I wanted my children. And I wanted to give them me. And when my grandchildren came along, I wanted to be their grandmother. And it affects everyone's relationship. My sons have a different relationship with my granddaughters because they're being raised almost like their sisters. My other grandchildren, it's hard for me to give to my other grandchildren in the presence of the ones that I'm raising, because it looks like favoritism to a child, when it's really, I should be able to do this for all of you, but I can't, because I'm with you every day. So if I take you for ice cream, you don't want me to take you for ice cream every day. Whereas I only have to take them for ice cream once, because they're not here every day. And they're happy about it. Or, you know, we can go do whatever. So it's changed the dynamic of everyone's relationship with me being their primary caretaker.
Wow. I was ready to say that. Like, how are you able to give all your love to 10 grandkids?
They do the same thing that their parents used to do. My daughter used to say, I'm your favorite because I'm your first and I'm your only girl. Savion would say, I'm your favorite because I'm me, and, you know, you had challenges getting me here. It was a rough pregnancy. And then Matthias would say, I'm the favorite because I'm the baby. And I have a different relationship with all 3 of them. And it's the same way with the grandchildren. Sugar will say, I'm the favorite because I'm the first grandchild.
Wow.
You know,
everybody wants to be the favorite.
Beanie will say, I'm the favorite because I look like you.
Yeah.
You know, but I think the consensus amongst everyone is that August is my favorite.
Oh, the cat's out the bag. August is the favorite. I see that. I see. Why is August your favorite?
Oh, God. I'm going to get in trouble.
You done already said it.
I don't know. Like I said, I think life is a mystery to a lot of us. There are things that we know in part. We have different belief systems. We have different theologies, and sometimes the lines get blurred. And I don't pretend to know what's outside of life.
Yeah.
What I know is when I found out that August was coming, something inside me was connected to him already. And I already had 3 grandchildren that were on the planet.
First grandbaby by your son, right?
He was the second.
He was the second.
And when I found out he was coming, I was like I said, I was just connected to him.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm coming to his birth. I wasn't there for Sugar's birth.
Okay.
I wasn't there for Angel's birth.
Okay.
So, and I was at the hospital with her the whole time when she was going to deliver, you know, Beanie. But I left to go to the bathroom and she delivered.
Oh my God.
I was gone after waiting all those hours.
Oh my God.
But I was going to fly out to Louisiana to be there for August's birth. And then he came early. So I had already bought my ticket. So I just went for when the ticket came. Yeah. And he was already like a month, maybe 5 weeks old. Oh. And we bonded, you know. And it was just like I thought it would be, you know. It's like, this is August. Aww. And, you know, so he's my August, but I love all of my grandchildren. Yeah. August and I just have a different kind of connection.
I see that. I definitely see that. He's a really sweet boy. He really is. And he loves his Nana.
He does. You know.
And he spoiled. You spoiled him.
Oh,
you spoil him.
Do I?
You know you do. That's her favorite. She knows she do.
I would like to spoil him. I really would.
Do you have a second favorite?
I love them all.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just have, like Sugar and I, you know, she's a teenager now, so we have our ups and downs. It's times that she wants to be bothered and it's times that she doesn't. Yeah. But, you know, I have a certain level of gratitude to Sugar that I don't have when it comes to my other grandchildren. Because when Sugar came along, my daughter was making some really bad choices. Yeah. And I felt like when Sugar came along, she curbed that. Yeah. And even though my daughter is not making all the choices that I would want her to make, I feel like having Sugar changed the course of her life. Yeah. And I'm really grateful. And I can remember holding her in my arms, telling her, I'm so glad that you came to change your mom's life. Oh. You know? Yeah. And I don't know if she remembers me saying that to her, but that was my sentiment then and now. Yeah. Angel does remind me a lot of my grandmother. She's really bossy. And I've said, if I had known when she was a baby that she would be this person, her nickname would have been Bossy instead of Beanie. But I started calling her Beanie at the hospital when she was born. Because when I went to see her, when I came back from the bathroom and they said, oh, she had the baby. She was brown already. Yeah. Yeah, she wasn't no light-skinned baby. Yeah, she had her brown. And I said, oh, look at my little coffee bean. And it just stuck.
Yeah, it just rolled.
Because I love coffee. And I said, I got a coffee bean now. I think Aubrey is my bonus grandchild. So she's like my little, you know, hummingbird because she's just all over the place.
She's very unique. She is. I would say I love her personality because she wants to be like the other kids, but she's just so different that it wouldn't fit her to be like any of the other kids. And I enjoy that about her.
Yeah. She's socially awkward.
She is.
But she's smart as a whip. She's very creative, you know. And you would think with her being socially awkward, she would be a pushover, but she is not.
She's not. She's going to tell you no. She gonna stand up for herself. And I would say that I see a drastic difference in her when she feels confident. It's like she can conquer any of these things. Yep. So I definitely love that about Aubrey. And I would say that no matter what happened or transpired between Shuggy and her mom, Shuggy loves her mom. And I pray that her mom can start getting back on the right path, because I see that she yearns to be with her a lot, and she wished that things could be a lot different. Not saying that she don't want to be with you, but I guess things happen so fast for her that she probably just couldn't understand. Or
well, that part of their relationship is intentional on my part.
Yeah.
Because what I never wanted her to feel is a void of her mother that I feel.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have no connection like that with my mom.
Yeah.
And, someone asked me once, trying to prep me or prompt me to have a relationship.
Yeah.
And they asked me, well, many people have asked me this. Well, how would you feel if she died? And I said, probably the same way if you told me your parent died. I would feel for you.
Yeah.
But there would be nothing that would be absent for me. I would feel sad for my siblings.
Yeah.
I would feel sad for her siblings.
Right.
But I don't have a connection with my mom there to make me feel like I'm losing anything. When her mother died, I had some prep because my grandmother's drinking caused her to be in the hospital, several times, and they thought she wouldn't make it.
Yeah.
So as a child, I kind of tried to prepare myself for her loss, but I made it into adult life and, made her a great grandmother.
Yeah.
And she was there. And by that time she had stopped drinking. So, by God's grace, my children never saw my grandmother drink or drunk ever. And I'm grateful for that.
Yes.
But when she passed away, even though I thought I had prepared myself emotionally, it was still hard because I'm the one that they called to tell that she had transitioned. And I had to call the other children and say, Mama is gone. And even then, when I got home and prepared for her funeral, I was good until we got to the gravesite. And then it was bad. It was real bad. I felt emotions that I had never felt before.
Yeah.
And it was so overwhelming that I felt like my soul was coming out of my body. And I would have never thought, because I had never been that connected to any feelings. But I can remember just feeling like I want to escape. This is tough. And I don't want to go through with it. That's really what it was. I did not want to experience it.
Yeah. You never felt those emotions before. Wow.
And it was my uncle. My birth mom was in the car with me.
Yeah.
And my uncle, who was closest to me in age, he was the one that could console me. He was the one who put his arms around me and said, it's okay. I'm right here with you. And I was able to get through that moment.
Wow.
And when I reflect on that, even now, I don't know what my mom was feeling, missing her mom.
That's
because
true.
I couldn't be present for her.
Yeah.
Just like she couldn't be present for me in that moment.
Right.
I didn't want Sugar to ever feel that. So I don't talk about her mother to her in a negative way.
Yeah.
I don't belittle her mother to her. I tell her how I feel about how things, might be affecting me. But I never discredit her mom as being her mom or keep them from being with her.
Yeah.
I try to make every attempt that I can so that they can spend time with her.
And that's wonderful. That is wonderful. We would love to hear your feedback on, your advice for maybe a parent whose child is dealing with mental health issues and they're not making the best decisions for themselves or their family. What would be your advice, being that you have experience in that field? What would you say to a parent that was in your shoes?
First, get some help.
Okay.
Go get some help. And what I mean by help is find someone who has lived experience like myself, who can share their journey with you and give you some strategies for navigating the systems, especially if your kid is involved with any kind of child service systems, meaning juvenile justice, counseling, residential treatment, CSAP services for anyone who has, sexual trauma or has been a victim of sexual trauma, get with someone with some lived experience. Move beyond the fear. Being courageous is hard, but get someone to support you through it so that you can get some therapy, find you some support groups, get some education about whatever the diagnosis or whatever the behavior that you keep seeing manifest, so that you can learn why it's happening and some of the things that you can implement to make it less severe in your life. NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, offers a lot of free education. If you go to NAMI, NAMI.org, their education is free. They will train you for free. I think NAMI is probably one of the greatest resources out there that's free that anyone can access. You can even get some of the trainings now on the internet, on demand. They have one called NAMI Basics for children under the age of 18 to help you just get the basic education and get connected to some other parents and caregivers that have similar experience. And don't beat yourself up. You don't know what you don't know. I parented my kids the way I was parented, thinking that I would do things a little bit different, but I know now that things could have been a lot easier for them if I had been a lot more flexible. And I didn't parent my daughters and my sons the same way. I wish I had been a little bit more restricted with her, because what I did was I raised her knowing that there were systems set up. If she gets pregnant, there are systems to help her. I raised my boys to completely stay away from it, because there is nothing out there to help you. There's two places for you:
jail and the graveyard.
And I wish I had been a little bit. And the other part to my relationship with my daughter is I was really rigid with some things, but a lot of things I gave into because of the mother wound that I have. So because I had an absent mother, I wanted to be there. And it's a lot of things that I probably should have said and did differently, but I didn't, because I wanted her to know that I was present. So she tells me a lot of things, like even now, she's very open with me and very honest about what's happening. It's just that I don't want to hear it. It's like, okay, that's enough.
Did she hold any resentment against you?
I think in the teenage years she did, because it was manifesting in her behavior. I don't know that she's worked through those things. We've had some conversations about some past sexual trauma that took place. I think she's more aware and has been more forgiving now, because her daughters were in a similar situation. And it wasn't her fault. And now she realizes, oh, it wasn't my mom's fault. Sometimes you're just in a situation where you trust people to care for your children, and they end up being predators.
Right.
So I think the vicious cycle of abuse and trauma raised its ugly head. And unfortunately, my grandchildren had to experience it, and my daughter. But I think it gave her a little bit more compassion towards me, raising them without a lot of support.
Okay. Wow. I want to first, let me say thanks for sharing, those resources that people can go and, look up for help. I think that's important, that, when we get on here and we talk about our experience, we pass down some of what we know to people that may be watching and may be in need of that. What would be your advice? This is funny, to a grandma that's not ready to be a grandma, because and these grandmas, they tatted up, they partying, they going to the club, they is totally not ready to sit down and take care of nobody kids. So what would be your advice to a grandma who has to care for their grandchild while their daughter is trying to get their mental health together, or their son trying to get their life together, and it's complete opposite of where they thought they were supposed to be?
The same thing I said earlier: get the help that you need, because that makes the transition a whole lot easier. One of the things that I think I didn't say that is very important as an advocate
Yeah.
and as a person who supports families, my daughter's challenges was the catalyst to me healing my own childhood trauma. I'm not saying that it wouldn't have happened, but it hadn't happened.
Yeah.
It was through my daughter's challenges that I started to heal from my stuff.
Wow.
And it was through my daughter's challenges that I started to forgive the people who raised me for the things that they weren't able to give me. Wow. So today, if I was to leave here right now and make my transition, I would make my transition without any unforgiveness in my heart towards my family. Yeah. Because I have a lot of compassion for the things that they endured and they didn't never get to the place where I'm at right now. Yeah. Because it takes a lot of courage to get here.
It does. It does. And a lot of work, a lot of healing, a lot of understanding, and a lot of forgiving people that are not sorry. And to be in a space where you are now, to be able to share your story and inspire other women to just be able to let it go or heal and work through that is beautiful. It's amazing.
It's a work in progress.
It is. It is. And the fact that you just have such an open and caring heart that, you allow people inside your space, inside your home, even when you don't feel the best, because like you say, you have your own things going on being the age that you are, you have that. So my next question is, who do you have when you feel overwhelmed? Like everybody can come to you. Who can you go to?
I think that's twofold also. There's the spiritual answer, which is I look to God, the God of my understanding, who shows up in people, and sometimes in a still, voice by way of the Holy Spirit, sometimes in a book, sometimes in a song. There's always that soft whisper that I'm here. Sometimes my own reflection. Wow. When people say, "Oh, you don't look your age," and I look at me in the mirror and I see God manifest in me. Wow. Because I don't look like what I've been through, and I know I don't.
Yeah.
I'm
grateful you don't, because I've seen some ones who do.
And and I'm really fortunate in that way, and I'm grateful. And then the other part is allowing people to show up in that way for me. Yeah. You have been there for me. It's times that even though you're much younger, from the time that I met you, you were just so bubbly and happy and cheery. And, it's like in the absence of my mother, God gave me mothers. In the absence of my daughter, God has given me daughters.
Wow. You did say that. You always said I felt, you looked at me like a daughter. And I've always, admired you and all the things that you have going on as a mom. And I love your grandkids. They come get their hair done. You have been loyal. They always come get their hair done.
But I'm gonna say this too, so your audience can hear this. I remember one time I was like really, really going through it.
Yeah. I think I know what you
And you said, "You complain a lot." And I was like, okay. And after you left, like I had to sit down by myself. And that was one of those God moments. Like I said, when God speaks to you through someone else, and you got to know that it's God. I didn't take offense to it. I was like, okay, I better sit still and hear what's being said to me, because that's not who I am, but that's what was starting to manifest, because I didn't feel appreciated. And in that moment, I didn't know I didn't feel appreciated. Right. I just felt frustrated and overwhelmed. And it was manifesting in the form of complaining.
Wow. And I think I know why I said that. It's more so because, we see different things in people. And what I seen was kids that were grateful to have you take them in and love them and care for them. And I know that it gets overwhelming sometimes, but I look at them, I'm like, dang, they're so blessed to be able to get out of the situation that they were in and into the situation that they're in now. They're going to have someone that's going to be able to do for them in ways that they didn't at first. And I'm like, she complaining, but they love her. They really love her. because I have my own personal relationship with Shuggy and Beanie, and we talk, and although she does things because she's a teenager, she really does love you, and she expresses that so much. And she said, she even said to me, I'm so grateful for you. And she was like, you always come through for me. And I'm like, of course, because I love your nana and your nana loves you. And this is just the type of relationship that we have. So
Yeah.
I just seen something a little different.
Yeah. I was like, okay, you better get it together, Sarah. Yeah, you bleeding.
And I'm so glad you didn't take offense to that.
Oh no. Because I knew it was done with love. And like I said, I'm at a place on my spiritual journey that I can recognize the voice of God, when it shows up in my life, because that's what I ask for. When I'm having my moments where I'm journaling and I'm speaking things into the universe and I'm saying my affirmations and I'm asking for confirmation, I have an open heart to receive it. Even sometimes my husband will say some things to me, and he up here. So he be like, you need to go sit down. You over there wilding out. You okay? Yeah, I'm all right. No, you ain't okay. You need to take a break for a minute.
Yeah, because he enjoys, because like you
life,
said,
life,
and just being able to take care of other kids too, because he was the only kid. So that's great. But I definitely want to say thank you for coming on and sharing your experience and being open and honestly healing through your own traumas and being able to be a support and guide for other people and advocate for yourself and your grandkids. That's beautiful.
Well, thank you.
You're going to receive a breakthrough after this.
Well, you know what? This is part of the breakthrough. Being able now to share what I've lived through, what I've experienced, and to give other people hope. Because it is, it's got its different challenges with every phase. Like I said, Sugar's 14 now. So I'm making that transition into, okay, she's 14. She wants to do things her way. That different color hair.
Yeah, tell me about it. The crazy one next door.
So letting her have her own idea about who she wants to be and not who I want her to be.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the greatest things that I learned from raising a daughter, which is I can't control who she is. I need to let her learn who she is and explore how she wants to express herself. So with Sugar, like I said, with Beanie, she don't have a lot of kickback. It's just I just want to be free.
She just bossy to the other kids.
To every other kid.
Okay. Is there anything that you would like to share that you wasn't able to share?
Probably I'm going to give you some resources that you can put, for people to be able to,
and stuff like that. Awesome.
So they can access those things.
Yeah. I think that'd be beautiful. That'd be beautiful. Let everyone know where they could follow you on social media, or if they have any questions, because sometimes we do have a lot of people that's like, oh, I want to reach out to her. She seemed like she may can help me. Are you open to helping other people that maybe?
Absolutely. So you can contact me at Sarah McFarland. If you Google my name, Sarah McFarland.
Oh, Google her.
Yeah, you just Google me, honey.
It's different. It's different when you can Google them.
So Sarah McFarland at the Link Center. It's LINKS Center.org or Sarah McFarland Consulting.com. You can find me there. I'm also an advocate for NAMI. I do a lot of mental health advocacy work for them in the community. And you can find me that way. I'm on Facebook. That's pretty much it. Linktree, LinkedIn. See, I'm not very comfortable with all of that stuff, but I'm learning. I got a little girl that's helping me.
That's beautiful.
Sharon McDaniel, let me throw her name out there. She's helping me with all of this.
Oh, that's great when we can have somebody to help us with all this technology crap.
Yeah, because I don't like it. I don't like social media at all. I'm very reserved. And I don't. I do better in small, intimate settings. Trying to overcome that.
So. No, it's like you said, it's a process. Any YouTube where they can find you at? You do any work on YouTube? Maybe some videos out there?
Just the NAMI videos.
NAMI.
But I don't have any out there of my own.
Okay.
Yeah. If they Google me, they'll see me.
Google her. You heard her. Google her. Well, let's give her a round of applause because she did a wonderful job. She did a wonderful job sharing her story, and we just want to thank y'all for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Please leave your feedback about how you think this interview went, and where I'm open to constructive criticism so I can grow as an individual and a host. So thank you. Yeah, I'm going to come back and answer some questions too. If you leave them in the comment section. Thank you. Oh, and if you have questions for Miss Sarah.
Yeah.
The grandmother of 10.
The grandmother of 10.
That's going to be the title.